Welcome to this rapid revision video looking at exam skills, this time for paper 2. We're going to be focused on the British depth study, which in this case will be Early Elizabethan England 1558 to 88. This is going to cover question 1a, the describe question, for just 4 marks, so it shouldn't take us too long. Firstly, a reminder of how this paper is structured. It's traditionally split into 2. One is a British depth study, e.g. Early Elizabethan England 1558 to 88, and the other is a European or wider world depth study, e.g. the American West 1830 to 1895. In the past, these have been provided as separate booklets answered within the same exam, although on one occasion they were taken as separate exams. The time allowed for each section is 55 minutes, so that's how long you'll have to answer the entire paper. This particular practice is going to be focused on the British depth study, Early Elizabethan England 1558 to 88. Let's have a look at the question. Consider the question and these instructions. It says answer question 1a, question 1b, and either question 1c1 or 1c2. Question 1b is worth 12 marks and will be an explain question, but questions 1c1 and 1c2 will be the big 16-mark questions. They're so high stakes that you're actually given a choice between 2. But for the lowly 4-mark question, you're just simply expected to know your stuff. So let's have a look at this question here. Describe 2 features of English involvement in the Netherlands 1585 to 88. It's only worth 4 marks, so we shouldn't be spending too long on it. The first question is assessing AO1, your knowledge of key features and characteristics of the period. The mark scheme for this will look a little something like this. All you'll need to do is include 2 valid features, support each feature with additional detail or explanation, and so you should only spend a maximum of about 6 minutes on this question. You might well find that you get it done quite a bit quicker than this, which will provide you with a bit of bonus time on the longer questions like 1b and 1c. So let's get into it. This is what the page will look like in the actual exam paper. Feature 1 and Feature 2 are nice and neatly laid out, so it's very difficult to get it wrong in terms of how many examples you meant to include. For this sample answer, I'm going to be including my basic examples in purple and my extra detail in red. One feature was the Treaty of Nonsuch in 1585. In this treaty, Elizabeth agreed to directly support the Dutch Protestant rebels and send an army. Another feature was Dudley's campaign in the Netherlands in 1587. Although it had little impact on the Duke of Parma's army, it did slow it down enough to prevent the capture of Ostend. Alright, so the examiner will be given certain acceptable points that they are allowed to mark, but even if it's not on this particular sheet here, you could use other things. As long as it's valid, the examiner will give you the credit. So I'd get a mark for including the Treaty of Nonsuch and my extra detail about it and what it included. I'll get another mark for Dudley's campaign in the Netherlands, and for explaining its impact, I'll get my next mark. That'll be 4 out of 4 then. Compare what I just did to this example. Is it better or worse? One feature was the Treaty of Nonsuch. This effectively made England and Spain at war. Elizabeth agreed to directly intervene in the Dutch Protestant rebellion and fund an army of 7,400 soldiers to be led by Robert Dudley, Earl of Leicester. In support of this and to undermine Spanish wealth, Drake was ordered to raid Spanish ships as a privateer. Another was the sending of 6,000 volunteer soldiers under John Casimir. This ended up doing harm to relations as Casimir's Protestant troops attacked Dutch Catholic churches, alienating them. So how did I do compared to the mark scheme? Well, not as well actually. Firstly, I would get a mark for this, as I did last time, but there's no way I needed to write this much. I wouldn't lose marks for this, but it just seems like a bit of a waste of time. You can pick up the marks much more simply and much more quickly. Spend your time more valuably on the 12 and 16 mark answers. But what about my next example? That's about England and the Netherlands. Got to be right, hasn't it? Well, unfortunately not. It's all factually correct, but remind yourself of the question. Describe 2 features of English involvement in the Netherlands 1585 to 88. John Casimir was there in 1578. It falls outside of that date range and therefore would not be credited. So be really careful and read that question carefully, for goodness sake. So I'd still get 2 out of 4 for this, even though I didn't get the second feature, even though I also wasted a bit of time on it. So go for the first example rather than this one. These describe questions can be quite good for checking your revision, so try some of these. Describe 2 features of the Elizabethan religious settlement. Describe 2 features of the Church of England after the religious settlement. Describe 2 features of urban Elizabethan society. Describe 2 features of education in Elizabethan England. Describe 2 features of Elizabethan theatre. Describe 2 features of exploration. Describe 2 features of the 1585 to 86 expeditions. Describe 2 features of Drake's circumnavigation. You can come up with these yourself dead easy. Our final points then. 4-mark describe 2 features questions should be easy marks. You simply need to identify 2 valid examples and support them with additional detail and explanation. They should take you no longer than 6 minutes, which is also how long this video is taken. They may take less time than that, leaving more time for the longer questions. Thanks very much for watching this far, and if it's been useful, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. But for now, goodbye.